What if I were to tell you that there is a strategy that can dominate this meta and potentially the next? You'd probably be like, damn, Cali, you crazy. Does this really look like the face of a crazy guy? Okay, maybe. I do have like 9 different personalities, but that's beside the point. I have been testing this amazing deck, and boy, it has everything it needs to be able to beat some of the top decks. So I was actually not a believer of this strategy until just recently, but Predaplant actually got some really good support from Dimension Force, and I think the strategy is starting to mature. Today I'm going to be explaining my test results and the build. Let's go ahead and jump on in so I can start talking to you about this Predaplant strategy. One of the most important cards for the deck is 3 copies of Orphis Scorpio. This allows you to special summon any Predaplant monster from your deck to your side of the field, but more importantly, it does require a discard. You're going to be discarding Predaplant Biblis. Yeah, this is going to be an ongoing theme for the rest of this video. There's 2 copies of Chlamydal Sundew. This card allows you to fusion summon, but the cool thing is that it can fusion summon with your opponent's cards if they have a Preda counter. This card's actually ridiculous and is normally the #1 monster you summon off of your Orphis Scorpio. Next is 2 copies of Predaplant Bofollicula. This is a monster card that can be searched through your Predaplant cards, but also can fusion summon in the scale. It's really, really good. And 1 copy of Predaplant Triantis. All of these Predaplant cards, if you see inside of your hand, they are full combo with any of your Preda Practice, which I do play 3 copies of. Disregard the proxies. For some reason, I cannot find my other Preda Practices, but don't worry. In Legendary Duelist Season 3, not only will there be reprints for this, there'll be reprints for other cards. But anyways, Preda Practice allows you to special summon any of your Predaplant monsters from your hand to your side of the field, and then search a Preda card from your deck to your hand. There's also the Brick, 1 copy of Predaplant Darlington Cobra. You do not want to draw this card, but you definitely want to special summon it off of your Predaplant monster's effects. Next is Predaprime Fusion, which allows you to fusion summon with a Predaplant monster, and it can fusion summon from either side of the field, which is really, really ridiculous as a super polymerization-like card. There's Predaplanting that allows you to put Predaplant counters on your opponent's cards, and I'm telling you, when I'm saying Predaplant counters are ridiculously busted, they genuinely are busted. This card does aid as a walking skill drain and can destroy cards on the field when we fusion summon our opponent's turn, like when we use Predaprime Fusion. From here, we actually have some really good supplemental engines for this strategy. There's 3 copies of Edgem Chain, 3 copies of Fright for Patchwork, and 2 copies of Polymerization. This engine is actually really good for the deck, as you're going to find out through most of this strategy. There are a ton of discards. Being able to discard the Edgem Chain or the Biblis from your hands to the graveyard is actually really good, as not only will you be able to retain advantage, you actually get into fusion plays just in case you get disrupted. From here, there are 2 copies of Keeper of the Dragon Magic. This card allows you to search instant fusion or branded fusion or polymerization from your deck to your hand. It's a really, really good card. One more thing I want to point out is that instant fusion is a complete 1 card combo for this deck. So if this card ever comes to more than 1, it gets even more ridiculous. Moving forward, we do play the Branded engine, which is going to consist of 3 copies of Branded Fusion, 2 copies of Fallen Albaz. There are completely no Despia monsters inside of this deck, and the reason why is because Branded opening requires you to discard a card, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but when you consider that I already have so many cards to discard cards from my hand, really don't need it. Also, when you draw Alibur Jester of Despia, it is a normal summon to be able to search Branded Fusion, which can be searched from your deck. So no real need to play the Branded engine in this particular deck, but if I were to play a Branded card, 1 card that was on my mind was Abliptum, because it could special summon banished monsters, fusion monsters to your side of the field. 1 copy of Fairy Tale Snow and 1 copy of Stay Sailor Ramarin is because this card is to be sent off of Branded Fusion, so you can be able to send Biblis to be able to get a Predaplant monster from your deck to your hand. To finish it off, there's going to be 1 copy of Branded Banishment. This card is completely nutty, and I'll show you guys the inboard where it is just ridiculous. And the hand traps I was playing was 3 copies of Imperm, 3 copies of Nibiru, and 3 copies of Ash. But I don't think that hand traps will be as powerful coming into the next format as they are right now. With that being said, I decided to take out the hand traps and put in some really good going second cards because they allow me to address my opponent's Splight board or my opponent's Sword Soul board and even my opponent's Punk Therion board. There's going to be 3 copies of the Drip here, 3 copies of Dark Ruler No More, and 1 Call by the Grave. This deck is actually really good at being able to break boards, go second, and establish its own board. So I felt that being able to amplify on that, being able to play cards that help me break boards would be extremely good with this particular deck. Now, there is one extra card that I want to talk to you guys about, and I think is going to be like pretty good in the future. If you guys did not know, monsters with a Preda counter normally go from level 2 to level 1, which is literally the worst thing to ever happen for Splight pairs. I was thinking about playing Predaplast in here, because it does allow you to put counters on your opponent's cards, and one of the biggest weaknesses for this deck is not being able to consistently put counters on your opponent's cards. If you can just willy-nilly put counters on your opponent's cards, this deck becomes completely cracked as your however you say this card's name, literally becomes a walking polymerization to your side of the field, and your fusion monster in Dragastapelia becomes a walking one-sided skill drain. So that is one thing to consider. Another thing that I consider playing with this deck was the Destiny Hero Phoenix Enforcer engine. I thought that was a really good engine, and I even went so far as to dropping the branded engine down a little bit just to accommodate for that, and it worked pretty well, but I'm still in testing for that. I'm not 100% sure about it. For the extra deck, I'm going to kind of blaze through it. It's going to be 2 copies of Mirror Jade, 1 Lubellion. Albion is the card that you want to summon over the Lubellion in this particular deck, and I'll show you why. 1 copy of Predaplant Trifrevertum, 2 copies of Dragastapelia. This card is ridiculously busted for this deck. This is legitimately why this is one of the better decks that I feel, one of the better fusion decks, is because most fusion monsters, most good fusion monsters are dark, meaning that you can literally fuse off their monsters to make one of the best boss monsters for your deck, and as long as you can continuously put Preda counters on your opponent's cards, it is a walking skill drain. It is a continuous effect to negate. It is a quick effect to place counters. Next is going to be 1 Starving Venom, 1 Chimera Rafflesia, 1 Millenniumizer Strict, 1 Guardian Chimera, 1 Starving Venom, and this is supposed to be 2 copies of Predaplant Ambulomiliotis. Ambulometis. This is 100% a 15 card extra deck, guys. I just want to see the people that ain't paying attention. Well, like, what's the 2 blank cards? Why is there 14 cards? But there is 2 copies of Predaplant Ambulometis. But I'm pretty sure you want to see how powerful this deck can be in action. Let me go ahead and show you a test hand. So showing you how this particular deck works, we're going to go ahead and start off with our first hand. We literally drew the combo, guys. Drawing Instant Fusion is full combo for this deck, but of course you can extend plus more depending on what you have in your hand. We're going to draw Preda Practice, we're going to draw Egypt Chain, Star Sailor, and the Forbidden Droplet. Literally the only card that I do not, well, it's not like the end of the world by having the Star Sailor in your hand, but I mean, obviously you would want a different card. Actually, no, I think it's still full combo because we have the Egypt Chain here. What we would do first here is activate the Instant Fusion and use the Instant Fusion to be able to fusion summon into our Predaplant Ambulometis. Now, this is the most important card because when it is fusion summoned, it allows us to add a Preda card from our decks to our hand. In this particular situation, I think we add the Orphis Scorpio, right? Yeah, I think we add the Orphis Scorpio here, and then we continue on. We'll then use our Preda Practice to be able to special summon the Orphis Scorpio, and resolving the Preda Practice, we can add a Predaplant monster or card from our decks to our hand. We will be able to add, we will add from our decks to our hand. I'm gonna go ahead and add Predaplanting, and then we'll activate our Orphis Scorpio. We'll discard the Egypt Chain to be able to special summon to our side of the field. Now, the monster that we are going to special summon is actually the Climo Sundew, and then we'll trigger the effect of Egypt Chain to be able to get the Fright for Patchwork. And now activating the Fright for Patchwork, we will add another Egypt Chain and a Polymerization from our decks to our hand. So still 5 cards in our hand, and it's going to be really interesting to show you guys how this all works. From here, I will use the Ambulometis to be able to tribute off the Orphis Scorpio. Normally, when you're using this card's effect, you want to special summon the Darlington Cobra. That's what this card's main job is for tributing. You normally don't want to use the Orphis Scorpio to be able to special summon the Darlington Cobra. This card normally special summons the Sundew. And then, of course, Darlington Cobra will activate to be able to get us the branded fusion. So 6 cards in our hand, guys, and 3 monsters on the field. That's pretty much what you like to see from a combo deck, right, guys? From here, we'll use the Climo Sundew to be able to fuse off the Amlometus and itself into our first Dragostapelia. We'll then be able to activate, oh, this is a tough one. I think I'm just going to go ahead and Branded Fusion here. We will use Branded Fusion to be able to send from the deck to the graveyard a Fairy Tale Snow. And we will send, normally we would send the Star Sailor, but we have Star Sailor and a way to fuse in our hand. So we are never punished here. We'll be able to send that in the Albaz from our decks to the graveyard. With that, we will be able to fusion summon to our side of the field. We will fusion summon into our Albion here, using the effect of Albion, the Banished Albaz, and the Ambulometus to be able to fusion summon into our Mirror Jade here, which is really, really good. And now, I actually lied, we can't fusion summon with the Rama in here. I don't think I have anything in extra deck to fuse, but I can then just go ahead and polymerization using both my Albion the Branded Dragon and my Predaplant into my second copy of Dragostapelia. So our inboard is actually going to be a little something like this, resolving the effect of Branded on the in phase. We are going to get double Dragostapelia, which again, guys, it places Predaplant counters on your opponent's cards, and any monster which are a Predaplant counter, levels become 1. This is really, really disgusting against Sword Soul, as they can't really synchro summon with level 1 monsters, but also this is really good against Splight, because again, that making that monster into a level 1 and negating its effect like Deep Sea Diva, like Nimble Beaver, prevents them from being able to follow up with Splight plays. We have the ability to be able to banish with Mirror Jade here, and then what's really cool is that Branded Banishment can summon one of these guys back to the side of the field, and Predaplanting can send from the deck to the graveyard to be able to put counters on your opponent's cards, or you can go ahead and set to your side of the field your Predaprime fusion if it's not Predaplanting, and that will allow you to fuse with these two into your Starving Venom, which will then trigger the effect of your, or then activate your Branded Banishment to be able to bring your Mirror Jade or your Dragostapelia back, which is completely ridiculous. But I think I have enough room for maybe one more. That's just showing you like the full power of this deck. Sometimes, you know, oh, and I also had Fairy Tale Snow in graveyard. I almost forgot to say I had Fairy Tale Snow in graveyard, which is not that bad, right? Okay, guys, I'm going to be showing you guys one last test hand. If you guys want to see more, then go ahead and consider joining my Patreon. That is how we pay the editor. So let's go ahead and go into this next hand. This is actually, whoo, this is going to be a really interesting hand. I'm going to actually start off with Fright for Patchwork. We will use that Fright for Patchwork to be able to get an Edge Him Chain and a Polymerization from our decks to our hands, so we have a way to be able to continue fusing even if our opponent does go something like Effect Veiler on our Orphis Scorpio. And then I will activate the Predapractice here. I will special summon Orphis Scorpio to my side of the field and then add another Predap card from my deck to my hand. My card of choice will be the, oh man, this is rough. This is interesting. I'm going to add the Predaprime fusion from my deck to my hand. Now we'll use the effect of Orphis Scorpio. We'll discard the Bibelist to be able to special summon to our side of the field. We'll special summon the Sundew, and then we'll trigger the effect of Bibelist to be able to add the, where's that Predaplant monster? We'll add the Bofolicula from our decks to our hand. So the reason why I play Triantis in this deck is because it allows me to place Predaplant counters on my opponent's cards and then make them level 1, which is really, really good. I don't want to keep on explaining that. We'll then fuse with both our Triantis and our Bofolicula into our Ambulometus. This is in the graveyard as well, which will trigger, these go to the extra deck, which will trigger both their effects. I can use this to put a counter on opponent's card, counters on my opponent's card, and then this would come to my hand through the effect of Bofolicula. Then the effect of Ambulometus will activate here. From here, we can add a Predaplant card from our decks to our hand. That will be Predaplanting, which will have the ability to be able to put Predaplant counters on everything and still fusion summon, which is kind of ridiculous in this particular situation. We'll use the effect of Ambulomedes to tribute off the Orphis Scorpio to be able to fusion or special summon Darlington Cobra. And then our Darlington Cobra will add our branded fusion. So as you guys can see, 3 cards on field, 6 cards in hand. This deck still can play. We'll use the Sundew to be able to fuse with the Ambulomedes into our Predaplant Dragostapelia here. And then we will activate our branded fusion, which will allow us to do pretty much the exact same thing, guys. This time around, we're going to send, oh man, we don't even need to send our Stay Sailor because we've already activated Bisbliss. But what we would do is send the Stay Sailor, and we would send our Fallen Albaz from the decks to the graveyard to be able to fusion summon. But since again, we've already used Bisbliss effect, we will send the Albaz and the Fairy Tale Snow. That Fairy Tale Snow is really coming in clutch from here. From that, we will be able to fusion summon into our Albion here. Using our Albion's effect, we will banish from the graveyard the Albaz and the Ambulomedes, which will then be able to fusion summon into our Mirrorjade. And now, polymerization. Whoa, we don't need polymerization. What am I doing here? Oh yeah, I mean, I guess we could polymerization, but polymerization will do exactly what it was doing, which will fuse into our Dragostapelia. And then on in phase, we have a board that looks like this, which, I mean, I don't know what you guys would call ridiculous, but like, what is this, like 9, 10? I don't know. This is ridiculous amount of disruptions, right? Let's go through them. This is a negate. Let's just put it as 1 negate. This is 2 negates. This is potentially 3 disruptions just off of these 3 cards. That's 4 disruptions. Then this is 5 disruptions, being able to fuse off your opponent's cards, right? And then this is 6 disruptions, because if you fuse off your cards, you can bring it back. So I think it's kind of ridiculous that this Predaplant deck has 6 disruptions, but I don't know. You tell me. And that is all that my testing so far has gotten from this Predaplant strategy. I genuinely feel that you could potentially take it to the next level. I know you can. I'm just bringing you back the idea that's already been there. Of course, again, there'll be some more testings on my Patreon as a thank you for helping me pay my editors. But you can also check out these videos if you want to see more content, as I'll catch you on the next one.